What's up guys, Dan here, Coalcracker, coming to you from wet and cold Pennsylvania. That's right, temperature is dropping mid-40s and it has been raining on and off here since last night. So everything is soaking wet, and with that comes perfect training weather. And with perfect training weather, I would like to show you something that you can do and replicate in a sense in your own area when weather is foul and you have time to go out and have a good time in the woods and actually learn how to use some of your tools and work through the process of, hey, something bad happened, what is it actually going to feel like and what am I actually going to do? So that's what we're going to do, a little bit of role playing today in a survival scenario. So for this scenario, a few of these things are made up, right? Weather is not made up. So it is 40 some degrees and dropping. It is rainy. The rain was a little bit heavier just a little while ago, but it has seemed to taper off slightly. We're going to assume that I only have about an hour of daylight left. Okay, we're going to also assume that I'm somewhat misplaced in the woods. I know the general area I'm in, but I don't know the exact trail or way out at my current moment. And then lastly, let's just assume that I twisted my knee once or twice, pulled my hamstring a little bit, so I am very slow on the go, meaning like I can't just like haul butt and get out of here really quickly. It's going to take me longer than expected. So with all that in play, what would we do? That's the first scenario you're going to work yourself through. So in my case, right now, I would assume that, hey, I'm going to probably stay here for the night, okay? I'm going to either try to get a hold of my loved ones and let them know, hey, I'm going to just stay out for the night, see you in the morning, not cause all kind of panic and disruption, or if I'm just out by myself and nobody even knows I'm out here, just hunker down for the night. When the sun comes up tomorrow, be a happy camper and get myself out of here. With that said, I'm going to first look around. Remember, I have a little bit of an injury. I don't want to travel super far to find a campsite. So what does it look like in my current area? So where I'm at actually looks pretty good. You can see there's down trees behind me, okay? There's no water underneath me. When I look around, we say down trees. That's a good thing because of firewood. I can collect lots of firewood if it does start to rain a lot and if it's dark and I don't have a flashlight. But down trees are also an indicator that, hey, why are they falling? So if we look in that direction, what we see that the trees that have fallen are generally because of a washout area. Okay, so that makes me red alert. I want to make sure there's nothing that's going to fall on me. Now, you can probably see there's a tree tilted back here, okay? But that is blocked between two really massive maple trees, so it's not going to hit me. And down in this direction, I look good. That direction, I look good. This direction, I look good. So overall, we have nothing that could possibly fall on me. And the water runoff is over there. I'm a good high ground right now, so it doesn't, I mean, it's wet from the rain, but it's not puddling up. So we have lots of things in our favor for this area. So that's going to be the first thing. So once I decide that, is it shelter or is it fire? Now, it's not raining now, so you might think, okay, not raining, I'm starting to get cold, fire. And that would probably be a good decision. But in this case, I know it has been raining on and off because I've been out here for a while. So in my instance, I'm carrying one of my T60s. I'm gonna set that up just in case it starts to rain during fire prep, okay? During that scenario, then at least I have a dry area to sit, process my wood, and get that fire ready to roll. So let's get right into that. We'll get the shelter set up, and then we're gonna get on top of fire. All right, now my shelter is set up, very reasonable amount of time. The wind is whipping around here. Luckily, it's on the school property, so I know enough that the wind is generally going to come this direction. Ideal scenario, we always want this blocking the wind. But sometimes, just the reality of it is, wind's going to be moving around. It's not your normal operational area. You're going to feel like the wind's blowing in it sometimes. You're going to feel like it's blowing to the back sometimes. You got to just work with it. It's just part of being out here. So try your best to let the shelter block most of the wind. Now, what you're going to notice is the ground's soaking wet. So if you can prepare ahead of time for this, all the better. So I have a gum blanket with me. These are just rubberized cloth with canvas on the back side. So these things are really nice. We've been using them for years and years here at the school. These just open up and they create a great moisture barrier that now I can sit on, work on, and process everything. So at this point, my shelter is pretty much complete. In a situation such as this though, what you have to realize is, listen, I don't have blankets and sleeping bags and everything else to actually work with. So a couple things that you can take into consideration. Number one, in colder type weather, maybe it is best to carry a backpack and not something small, just like a haversack, because maybe you want to have blankets or an emergency sleeping bag or emergency sleep system with you. If not, then some other alternatives to this are going to be, number one, a really big fire, or if the worst case scenario is you have nothing and at least a ground barrier, just take leaves and build a debris bed. Remember, the mass of the ground is way greater than the mass of you, so it's always going to suck out your heat and make you cold. If you get a lot of leaf debris underneath you, between the ground, you're going to be able to warm yourself up. That leaf bed's going to stop the ground from sucking the heat out of you, and you're going to be just that much happier overnight. So now it's on to fire, prep, and to get warm. All right, now for this segment, I really was hoping that it was going to rain, but unfortunately, it is not. The rain seems to have passed for the time being, so we're just going to roll with it. Everything is still wet. So what we're going to do is we are going to begin by prepping our fire under the shelter, because you never know when that rain may occur again. So I'm going to go out now and I'm going to really violently attack material collection, because that is the longest time of creating a fire, is having to collect that material. We should be able to get instant flame. We should be able to really quickly get that fire started, but then our job is to grow it bigger. So if I have the materials to grow it bigger, all the better. So let's go out and collect, and I'll show you some tips and tricks with that. I'm going to let this here. I have a bright shelter. I don't want to lose sight of my shelter while I'm collecting. That is going to be paramount when it comes to keeping ourselves safe. We lose this stuff, we're really in a bad situation. Okay, so when it comes to collection of firewood, we touched on this just a little bit at the beginning of the video. We want to be looking for an area with a lot of downed wood. If you're in an area that's like there's not a branch in sight and all the trees are really big in the forest, it's going to be hard to get a fire started, because in wet weather we really need small stuff. And in my case, it's so wet and it's been raining for so long, I'm also going to have to create some type of tinder source if I can't find any. A second really important thing that I love to look for, even if I have to travel just a slight distance, is going to be some type of evergreen. So it might be out of the camera's view, but over here we have some hemlocks. Over here you can see some branches of hemlocks, and then if I look further back, there's lots of downed old evergreen. And what that means is that underneath those trees, you're going to find a lot of this stuff, dead small branches, and this stuff is super fine. Now hemlock picks up a lot of moisture, but I don't even think it matters that much for you to understand it at that level. As long as you're getting small stuff and you get a good flame source, you're going to be able to dry this out and get your fire going. So I'm going to collect a whole bunch of this, and then the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look for down branches and sticks. So you see I break this one off. Okay, now with evergreen, we know there's this stuff called fatwood, which there's none in this. You can smell it. It usually stands out really well. But more so, what I'm looking for is good dry dead wood that I can actually process into shavings. So rather than carrying this back and messing around at my shelter, it's not raining right now. I'm going to take a piece of this, take my knife, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve it a little bit. This wood is good and dry on the inside. This looks like a perfect piece. I'm going to grab a couple of these, and when we get back in the shelter, I'm going to show you how I process this out into shavings to grow that flame source even bigger. Now, one thing a lot of people might ask is, well, why aren't you making feather sticks? Well, I'm not a big feather stick fan, to be honest with you. So feather sticks are just these nice shavings that I'm making right here, stuck on the end of the stick. Now, feather sticks are nice for transport, but I'm making my fire right out in front of me, and I have this big cloth here that's dry that I can gather all my shavings on. So shavings are just so much more faster and efficient overall. Feather sticks, again, I'm not bashing them. I'm just not the biggest fan. I think it's just more efficient to do this, make my shavings, and move on about my day. So you can see there how quick we can go. And look at this. There's big pieces, there's small pieces. Just change up your pressure a little bit, and that is like fire gold right there. Like absolute just gold in this type of condition. So I'm just going to continue this process. Just keep working. And part of it, you got to enjoy yourself while you're out here. Just enjoy this whole process. Even if you're cold and your fingers are hurting and you'll say you really did hurt your ankle, just enjoy the whole process here, and it's going to make it go that much smoother and quicker for you to get all this stuff started. Now listen, we all love gear, I love gear, but to be honest, and I'm being 100% honest, this is my normal haversack loadout. So you've seen this in other videos. So what's in here is what I would normally have with me. So this is what we're gonna start the fire with. So let's see what options we got. So first of all, right top, big piece of fat wood. We have my ferrocerium rod, so we can scrape with that. We have duct tape on the back, so that duct tape also burns really nice. And then we have, this is just a waxed jute twine lanyard on there. So if I needed to, I can even pull that apart in really bad weather. We have some other stuff. So we have like my pliers and my stuff in here. I have my lighter. So that's probably going to be the go-to option, but we'll talk about it. So I like to carry a carpenter's pencil with me, and the reason for that, when I'm doing bushcrafty type projects and I have to mark wood or things like that, this comes in really handy. But the second part is I always have dry wood. See, I'm always thinking ahead, so I can make shavings with this if I would need to. So it's just like having a little piece of multi-purpose material there with you. And then I have some of our fire starters that we made in other videos. There's a rubber band on this container, so rubber bands burn really well. And then in here, wow, we actually have the little quick tinders. These are the ones that come in a survival aviation kits. And then we have some of the discs that we actually make. So lots of different stuff there. So what should we do? What should we do? Well, let's just use one quick tinder and we'll light that with a ferro rod. We'll do that, and then we're gonna backfill with all this other stuff. So when we teach fire here at Coalcracker, okay, what we like to teach is none of this tinder kindling and fuel stuff. And the reason for that, it gets people really confused when we start using terms like put on the tinder and grab the tinder bundle, and stuff's overlapping. They're like, what's fuel? And I don't understand. So we just say small, medium, and large material. And then we also have what we call a flame source. So small material, let's talk about that first. That's what's gonna go on the fire itself. Small is gonna be what we showed you earlier, some of this stuff that I picked. It's just this real fine stuff. Think of like toothpick sized. And then as you go down the branch, okay, you're gonna think like medium is like #2 pencil, or maybe a little bit smaller, but we generally just say #2 pencil. It keeps everybody in line. So we have #2 pencil size, and then ultimately we go thumb and bigger. And I know this isn't the size of my thumb, but most of the stuff I grab's about this size, and then I can fuel it a lot with that plus anything bigger. So that's going to be what we put on the fire. So what's our initial flame source? Well, it's going to be whatever the initial flame source is, and that can be a variety. That can be 15 different things. That could be just one of these little tinders lit with a ferrocerium rod. It could be a tinder. In our case, we're going to use a whole pile of shavings that I made. It could be just shavings. It could be tinder, shavings, duct tape, fat wood, and your shoe sole. Whatever you want to do, that initial flame source, that's just what we call it. So our initial flame source is going to be this, lit with a ferro rod, shavings on top, and then small, medium, and large. Okay, so fire lays with lean-to style shelters, butt cheeks up against that, one normal step out, that is going to be the front of your fire lay. That is going to provide enough radiant heat inside, but it's also far enough away that it's not going to cause damage to your shelter. So butt cheeks up, one step, here we go. Boom, right here is where we're going to make our fire. Now with the ground being all wet, first thing I want to do is I want to clear all these leaves away. Even if the ground was dry, we still want to clear these leaves away because we don't want this spreading or getting out of control. If you're going to be sleeping with this fire and you're going to have it unattended, eyes closed, and you're out cold, I would highly recommend putting something around here, be it rocks or wet logs that are in large size diameter, just aren't going to burst into flame, in order to keep that somewhat contained, especially in windy environments. But in our case, for the video purposes here, we can just go right down on the ground. I'm going to scrape down, get most of that leaf matter The ground's still damp, but it's not as wet as those leaves. Now in wet weather, one other thing that we like to do here is take some of these larger split sticks that we have and lay them down with the split side up. That's going to provide us a nice dry base, which we call a platform, to build our fire on. So in this case, I'm just going to lay these down just like that. That's giving me a nice dry base to get all my stuff started. Now the next step in fire creation here at Coalcracker is to make something called a backstop. And what the backstop is, you can see I'm breaking up a stick, it's just going to be some sticks, but the backstop is going to allow airflow to our fire. So I'm going to place this down. You're going to see what this looks like here in a second, a little bit more up close. Place that down in there, and now my fire is ready to go. All right, so my emergency fire starter is going to get placed there. We're going to give that a strike with the ferro rod. Lights right up, looking good. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to keep our gear organized. We don't want to lose that ferro rod. And then we're going to start to place our shavings on here, giving that some ample time to burn and get going. I'm going to take them split sticks that we used and I'm going to start to feed those onto here. Even though they're a little bit big, they're nice and dry on the inside, so we want to get those in place. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start to work with this material, small to large, stacking it on top. So I'm going to just take some of this material. Now it might initially look like our flame source gets sucked down because remember, there's a lot of moisture in this stuff, but once it gets dried out, it'll start to burn really nice, and then we will be good to go. This is what we call the stack method. If I would put another layer on here and that flame just almost goes away to nothing, I can always remove it and then continue on. So we got that started, and again, we're not talking, Dan, we should be working. So I could already feel that heat coming in, stacking my next layer on, grabbing material, absorbing all that. Take that smoke in if you need to, just to get that heat to yourself. So it's feeling really good. Put our next layer on. There's some leaves in, but who cares at this point? We have a fire that is cooking. And now, while this is going, I'm gonna make sure I get my gear put away even more so into my bag. That way it's not lost. And now I can go and start to collect even more material if I would need so. All right, so if you like today's video, hit like and subscribe. You can also check us out at coalcrackerbushcraft.com for all our classes, our gear, and our blog. This is the type of stuff that we work on in our survival classes. So if you're interested in this, the 2026 schedule will be getting posted here shortly. Check out our classes. You'll have a great time with us, lots of good training, meet a lot of fun people, and most of all, you get to stay in the woods. Or until the next video, you stay in the woods.